What do you think the odds are that something will actually pass before the end of the year?
Well, everything that we're hearing is that there is some type of compromise bill that will pass. There was recent discussion about compromise legislation being introduced in the Senate. It's just a question of how quickly will that move along. So the concern is this is going to continue to drag on, possibly until the lame duck session at the end of the year. So do we think something's going to pass? Yes, but the big question is when.
What happens if we wait till the lame duck session in November or whatever and something passes then? Is that in time?
Well, the problem is we're already seeing the impact of TRIA's pending expiration in the marketplace. On the workers' compensation side, we are seeing carriers that are declining to cover risks after the end of the year because of the expiration of TRIA. So that's, as the year goes on, that's only going to get worse. We're going to have more and more policies that are coming up for renewal that the carriers are going to refuse to bind the coverage after the end of the year because of those employee concentration concerns around TRIA. So, is it in time by the end of the year? Getting it done anytime is better than not getting it done at all. But the longer this drags out, the more chaos it creates in the marketplace, because the more people are out there binding coverage that they can't get past the end of the year.
So what happens if this doesn't pass?
Well, we're already seeing what's going to happen if this doesn't pass, and that is markets are limiting their coverage in certain geographic areas with certain employer classes in order to limit their employee concentration coverage. The issue around workers' compensation is carriers are unable to exclude for loss, like on the property side. On the property side, they can simply issue an exclusion of terrorism and cover the rest of the property. In workers' comp, you can't exclude for cause. And so your choices are either you cover it or you don't. And so the reaction that we're seeing from the marketplace now is that they're saying we're not going to cover past the end of the year. So if TRIA expires, I think you're going to see certain employers have very limited options when it comes to their workers' compensation coverage.
Why might this not pass? Who's objecting and why?
There are some Tea Party Republicans in the House that are objecting to TRIA because they view it as a government handout for the insurance industry. They think it's unnecessary. They think there's plenty of capacity in the marketplace. And so they feel that the private market can handle this on their own. I also take an issue with the thought that this is just a handout to the insurance industry. The deductibles that are in place with TRIA currently are much higher than the costs associated with 9/11. So it would take a significant event to trigger the TRIA backstop. In addition to that, there are repayment provisions in the current TRIA legislation that allow for the federal government to be repaid for anything that they pay out. So this isn't a handout to the insurance industry. It's designed to give the insurance industry a level of security so that they can actually define and underwrite the risk exposures that are in place here. What we're encouraging employers to do is to reach out to their members of Congress and let them know what an important issue this is. It's important that Congress understands that this isn't just an insurance company issue. This isn't an issue that it impacts hundreds of businesses across the United States. I mean, this is having a tremendous impact to employers in the financial services industry, defense contractors, but even things like hospitals and higher education that have large concentrations of employees in a small area are seeing an impact from the pending expiration of TRIA.